Let's get some reaction now to the Iran situation from senators on both sides of the aisle. First up, the Republican view. Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton sits on the Armed Services and Intelligence Committees. Senator, thanks for being here.
Good evening, Brett.
I want to start by playing one of your Republican colleagues about this briefing up on Capitol Hill and what he took from it. Senator Mike Lee.
With history as our guide, consultation isn't necessarily the same thing as authorization for the use of military force. A declaration of war or an AUMF is what the Constitution requires, and drive-by notification or after-the-fact lame briefings like the one we just received aren't adequate.
Senator Lee saying it's the worst military briefing he's ever been to. Your reaction to that, your take?
Brett, I thought the briefing this afternoon was very thorough. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Milley, explained that his troops faced an attack in weeks, if not days. They reviewed with us the various options from which the president chose on a list of options they presented, and the president chose correctly, in my opinion. Qasem Soleimani has been a terrorist mastermind for Iran for more than 20 years and has the blood of thousands of Americans on his hands. The president drew a very clear red line. If any American is harmed by an Iranian attack, by their proxies or by Iran itself, he would retaliate. That's what happened when we struck one of their militia's bases on December 29th, and when they attacked our embassy and we had a target of opportunity with Qasem Soleimani, we took it. The world is a better place, and America is a safer place.
What do you think of the Iran response? I mean, it appears they purposely, or at least didn't hit U.S. troops. There were no casualties. And it seemed, in the big picture, pretty weak from what was being touted for days.
Iran conducted a very weak and anemic response as a face-saving measure for their own people. They are currently running disinformation on their state media about the scope of that response. But they did so because, in the parlance of experts, we've restored deterrence, or as we say in Arkansas, the Ayatollahs are scared of the United States once again. It was very important that the president stressed at his speech today that his red line remains in place. If Iran or any of its proxies harm Americans in the future, as they very well might try, they will once again face severe consequences.
There is now a vote in the House tomorrow on a war powers resolution. Your thoughts on those efforts to kind of restrict or put Congress more in the loop on some of these actions that the administration is taking?
Brett, first off, the War Powers Act is an unconstitutional intrusion of Congress into the president's constitutional authorities. Every president of both parties has believed that since it was passed in 1973. Second, Congress can act to cut off funding for military operations anytime it wishes. In fact, some left-wing congressmen and senators tried to do that just last year to stop the president from taking any military action, even justified self-defense, as we did against Iran over the last 2 weeks, and those measures failed in the Congress. The president is well within his rights, and it's been the case going back to George Washington, to strike targets of opportunity to protect our nation.
Is it now the case, as we looked at this briefing, you saw Senators Mike Lee and Rand Paul say what they said. Democrats are saying they weren't impressed with the briefing about the imminence of the attack, yet you and other Republicans say it was everything you thought it should be. Are we looking now at intelligence and the issue of possibly getting into action against Iran through a partisan lens? And is that a bad thing?
Well, Brett, I think it's unfortunate that so many Democrats are making the question of the imminence of this attack a partisan measure. General Milley was very clear. The intelligence he saw suggested a major attack against our troops in Iraq and the Middle East within weeks, if not days. Intelligence rarely gets better than that. It rarely tells you the exact moment on the exact day at the exact place. But finally, I just have to say, on questions of imminence, it probably looks a lot different if you're a soldier sitting in Iraq than if you're a comfortable senator sitting behind secure doors with armed guards in Washington, D.C.
The president of Iran tweeted out, General Soleimani fought heroically against ISIS, al-Nusra, al-Qaeda, et al. If it weren't for his war on terror, European capitals would be in great danger now. Our final answer to his assassination will be to kick all U.S. forces out of the region. Your response to that?
Well, the Supreme Leader is engaging in propaganda to cover up the weakness of his own response and his own regime's fragility at home. The United States, working with our partners in places like Iraq and Syria, was responsible for the defeat of the Islamic State. Iran simply stood on the sidelines and tried to benefit from our actions. Qasem Soleimani saw last week what that strategy got him.
Last thing on impeachment, Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, has not moved over articles of impeachment yet. However, there are some in your chamber, Senator Joe Manchin, who says it would be a sham if witnesses are not called, considering that John Bolton now wants to talk if subpoenaed. What do you say to that?
Well, first off, Brett, I'm not sure what Speaker Pelosi thinks she's getting in terms of leverage against Senator McConnell or the Senate. The Senate Republicans are very happy to keep doing the people's business, to confirm more judges, to confirm an ambassador, as we just did today, to an important ally like Thailand, to ratify the Mexico-Canada trade agreement. We're very happy to keep doing the people's business. If Nancy Pelosi thinks her impeachment articles are so weak and such a farce that she doesn't even want to send them to the Senate, then she can just sit on them.
Senator Tom Cotton, we appreciate your time.
Thanks, Brett.